All right, let's dive into a book that makes some of the boldest health claims you can possibly imagine. We're breaking down Heal Yourself 101 by Markus Rothkranz. The promise? To get younger and never get sick again. So let's see how the author makes that case step by step.
So here it is, the book itself. You can see right away the cover sets a pretty dramatic tone. You've got these figures reaching up to the sky and that title, Heal Yourself 101. It's not subtle. It's clear from the get-go that this book is aiming for something huge.
And this is the central promise, right there on the cover. We're not talking about just feeling a little better. The book is talking about a total biological reset. This one idea, this is the foundation for everything else we're about to dig into.
Okay, now before we go one step further, it's absolutely crucial we look at the book's own disclaimer. It states very clearly that its claims are not FDA approved and that this is not medical advice. So, just to be clear, this explainer is a neutral summary of what the book claims, not a health recommendation.
So, with that important note out of the way, let's get into it. The first section of the book is all about the radical promise it makes.
And the claims are, well, they're extraordinary. The author talks about people reportedly healing everything from polio to brain cancer, right from their own homes. He writes about diabetics being off insulin in just days and says he personally healed his own serious heart, liver, and lung diseases using these exact methods.
Okay, so if we're dealing with all these diseases, what does the book say is the cause? Well, according to the author, the #1 enemy is modern food. He points to a few key culprits that he says are at the very root of our health problems. And this table really breaks down the why behind his argument. Dairy? He claims it's acidic and actually leaches calcium from our bones. Bread and flour? The book uses phrases like, it gums up your insides like paste. And sugar? He calls it a pure acid that literally fuels disease.
You know, this visual really captures the whole vibe of the book's philosophy. It's not just about what you don't eat, it's about returning to this idealized, vibrant, natural way of being that's deeply connected to the planet.
So, if modern food is the enemy, what's the cure? Well, the book argues that the solution is to go back to what it calls nature's law.
So what is this law? The book says its entire philosophy can be boiled down to one single principle, one big secret to health. Any ideas what it might be?
And there it is. The #1 rule, in the author's own words, is just, don't cook your food. He claims that this one simple change can completely transform your life.
So why? What's the reasoning here? Well, according to the book, it's a two-part thing. First, it argues that heating food over 115 degrees Fahrenheit kills off what it calls life-giving enzymes. And second, it claims our bodies actually see cooked food as a foreign threat, causing our white blood cell count to spike, almost like we're fighting an infection.
But the book's philosophy goes way beyond just what's on your plate. It starts to challenge some of our most fundamental beliefs about how our bodies work, including the role of our own DNA.
And this is a big question, right? We're often told our genes are our destiny. If something runs in your family, are you just stuck with it?
The book's answer is a hard no. It argues we are not victims of our genetics. It actually uses this analogy of a junker car, saying you can completely strip a body down and rebuild it from scratch. The message is clear. Your choices, not your genes, get the final word.
This slide does a great job of laying out the book's argument against eating meat. On the left, it shows a carnivore, short digestive tract, super strong stomach acid. On the right, it shows a human, much longer tract, weaker acid. And the book's conclusion from this is that meat essentially rots inside of us, creating disease.
And that, of course, leads to the #1 question that always comes up with plant-based diets, the protein question. How are you supposed to build muscle and be strong if you're not eating meat?
The book's answer is pretty simple and pretty powerful. It points to images like this one and asks, where do the biggest, strongest animals on the planet, gorillas, elephants, rhinos, get their protein? They're all herbivores. The argument is that plants have all the protein we could ever need.
Now, this might be one of the most unconventional ideas in the entire book. It completely reframes what disease even is. The author says that things like bacteria and cancer cells, they aren't evil invaders. He calls them sanitation workers that only show up to clean out weak and dying tissue. The takeaway? If your body is clean, they literally have no job to do.
So if you follow these rules, you get rid of the enemy foods and live by nature's law, what's the end game? What is the ultimate promised transformation?
According to the book, it's not just about not being sick anymore. It's about reaching a whole new state of being.
An image like this really represents that promised state. It's not just physical. The author describes a spiritual and energetic awakening, this feeling of becoming lighter, more connected, more alive, on pretty much every level. And this quote from the book just paints such a vivid picture of that life. It talks about having the energy of a rocket, having razor-sharp intuition, and this deep spiritual connection. That right there is the ultimate promise of the Heal Yourself 101 philosophy.
And that kind of brings us to our final thought. No matter what you think of the specific claims, the book's core idea leaves us with a really powerful question. In a world that's so focused on adding new pills and new treatments, what if real health isn't about what you add, but what you take away?